Good evening, gallery, staff and councillors and those viewing online. Welcome to Richmond Valley Council's May Ordinary Council meeting. I'll open the meeting with acknowledgement of country. Richmond Valley Council recognises the people of the Bundjalung Nations as custodians and traditional owners of this land, and we value and appreciate the continuing culture connections to lands, their living culture and their unique role in the life of this region in the past, present and future. Mr General Manager, could you read the prayer, please?
Dear Lord, we meet to serve our Richmond Valley community, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly and to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognise our responsibility to the past and the future and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. As trusted servants, we seek blessings on our deliberations and on our efforts here today. May we act wisely and well. Amen.
Amen. Apologies. There is no apologies. Everyone's present. Mayor or minute. There's no mayor or minute. We'll go over to page 6, confirmation of the minutes. Could I get a move of the accuracy of the minutes, please?
Moved, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Morrissey and a seconder.
Second.
Councillor Humphries. Everyone agree with the accuracy of those minutes? I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Page 7, matters arising out of those minutes. Has any council got a matter arising? Nope. Declarations of interest. Has any council got a declaration of interest? Mr General Manager, have you received any?
No, I haven't received any.
Notice of motion, nil. Over the page to the Mayor's attendance report. I'll move that. Could I get a seconder, please?
Second, Mr Mayor.
Councillor, any questions or?
Mr
Walker.
Mayor, thank you. I was just interested in your visit on the 7th of May to the Rural and Regional Summit in Sydney and the meeting on the 8th of Country Mayors, and I wondered what the hot topics or the issues that are being debated are and what direction is being set by those groups.
One of the most, I'd say, exciting events there was the Minister for Local Government gave a speech and he was questioned and still pretty resolute in his standing. The main two things was pre-meeting briefings and videos. He may waver a little bit. He said there could be room on the videos, but definitely not on the pre-meetings. Sustainability was another thing. Yeah, just the usual. Yeah. Financial, as we all know, is Finances Councils was a high topic. Mr General Manager, do
Yeah, look, I think on that front, certainly the LG New South Wales campaign continues. I should say continue because it's been going for a while, to get 1% of revenue from the federal government to be allocated through the Federal Assistance Grants Program, which is where it was. It's probably a couple of decades now. It's now back at about, I think it's 0.53%. So that campaign continues. So that was probably a takeout from the Rural and Regional Summit, which is an LG New South Wales event, along with presentations. There was a couple of presentations from I know a couple of mayors. The Mayor of Tamworth made a presentation. So. Case studies around things, and then probably the takeout for me from the Country Mayors Association, again on the funding front, which is obviously one of the key challenges for local government, was the Premier came to address that. It appeared like he had about 3 pages of notes to sort of prepared speech, and I think he read the room and he made some introductory remarks and went, right, let's go with Q&A. And took about 45 minutes of questions. And probably the one that stood out for me was, again, around funding, was the way the GST revenues are distributed and how New South Wales appears to be missing out. New South Wales was, and he acknowledged that New South Wales has a role in making sure that the smaller states, like the Northern Territory and Tasmania, are going to get a greater share of that revenue compared to what GST revenue is raised in that individual state. But he did the comparison with Victoria, where he said that New South Wales is getting 83, it's down now to New South Wales gets 83 cents in every dollar raised through the GST in New South Wales back, whereas Victoria is getting $1.07. So it's actually getting more back than is raised in Victoria. And he sort of said he's been on this bandwagon, I suppose you'd say, for quite some time. And he said, well, I'm actually not being affected because when I started, we were at 90, I think it was 91 cents, and now we're back to 83. But the way, he's very good. He knows his stuff. He prosecutes the arguments really strongly, and I think that one. And he was basically saying, look, I'm not having much success. So as a group of mayors, can you help us out? Is there something that local government, the country mayors or LG New South Wales can do to adjust the way that the GST is redistributed after the take? And I know that there was, I think from my memory of it, it's obviously comes up in the media a bit, is that Western Australia gets a pretty good deal. Obviously there's politics around it that would need to be adjusted. So for me, the funding was probably the standout on those two fronts. One about the percentage of getting the grants revenue up, but also about how the GST comes back into New South Wales, and it would be good if there was more, because then the New South Wales government would have more money to potentially provide funding for grant programs and those things that local government chase. In our context, more money for the Safe and Secure program to fund water and sewer projects. So that were my sort of takeaways from those conversations.
A lot of financial.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, Mr General Manager. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Put that motion and all those in favour? Carried. Delegates report. There's one delegate report from Rouse County Council delegates. Can we get a mover?
Move that way, thanks.
Councillor Humphreys, I'll second. Any questions? Put that motion and all those in favour? Carried. Go over to page 13, item 11, matters for determination. Does any councillors have any items they'd like to pull out?
Yeah, I'll call 13.1. 13.1.
What was it?
13.1.
13.1. I've lost me a bit of paper. I'm just... Any other councillors? Councillor Murray?
17.2 and 17.6.
I can't hear you. Matters for... Yeah, so it was only on 17.
Ah, okay.
That Councillor Murray can ask questions about.
Yeah. So 17, we'll call that when we come through later, and that'll be in there. You can just ask the question straight out of 17.
Perfect, thank you.
No other councillors? I'll call then 12.1 and also 16.1. Any other? Okay. So, Mr General Manager, I've lost my piece of paper, so I believe we need a motion for 13.2, 15.1 and 16.2. Any more?
No, that's it.
That's it?
13, so 13 to 15, 1, 16, 2.
16.2. Yep. Can I get a motion for that, please? Councillor Morrissey. Seconder. Councillor Cornish. I'll Put that motion. All those in favour? Carried. Go to 12.1.
Presentation.
Yeah. Councillors, we have two presentations tonight. One will be on this and the other one will be our quarterly review. So, Mr General Manager, I'll hand over to you when you're ready to go.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Obviously, draft budget's an important item, and we've taken the opportunity to provide a briefing on the budget that I will get our Manager of Finance, Ms Martin, to step through, both for yourselves and obviously anyone watching online, so that you can see the context of the proposed budget. Obviously, tonight's report is seeking your endorsement to go through the consultation process. We need to consult on the budget, the revenue policy, and our operational plan. So I'll get Ms Martin to step through the draft budget. Thank you.
Can I just put a clarification before you do that, Mr Chair? Just to reaffirm, we are only endorsing what is before us to go on public exhibition. We're not endorsing anything that's in it. Thank you.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'll take you through our draft proposed budget. So the current draft 10-year plan has key focuses on keeping the current economic climate and global uncertainties in mind, which is causing cost of living pressures and is affecting business confidence and levels of investment, presenting a budget that accurately reflects Council's current financial position into the future, aiming to achieve operating surpluses into the long run, which will enable us to be financially sustainable into the future, borrow funds for key infrastructure projects and maintain our current assets and fund the future replacement or upgrade to those assets. Maintaining cash surpluses to allow funding for necessary changes throughout the year, and having a capital works program that has sufficient funding and is achievable. 26-27, we have an estimated operating revenue of 85 million and operating expenses of 93 million, with an operating result before capital and grants of minus 7.8 million. Capital grants are estimated at this stage to be around $8.3 million, which brings our operating result from continuing operations to a $511,000 surplus. Our capital works program is currently at 52.5 million, and our cash result is 405,000. As mentioned, our operating result is a key focus, and our operating performance ratio across the forward 10 years is improving, which is positive. However, it doesn't reach a break-even point across the LTFP. As the graph illustrates, our historical results are largely influenced by levels of external funding, such as the advance payment of the financial assistance grant, which can result in increases in operating income relative to expenditure. We're not alone in our challenge of achieving operating surpluses. As a sector comparison, on a consolidated operating result basis, there's more councils across New South Wales running general fund deficits than surpluses. And regional councils seem to be the most impacted, with only 19% of country councils managing to achieve surpluses before capital, whilst 58% of Sydney councils have. Only 9 councils across New South Wales have achieved 5 general fund operating surpluses across all 5 years. So our sources of income, as you can see from that graph, we do capital grants and contributions make up a fair portion of what we receive in revenue at 45%, followed by our rates on annual charges, which make up about 32%, and our user charges and fees at 16%, with investment revenue and other income making up the remainder. Our sources of expenditure in relation to income, obviously our capital projects or our capital expenses make up the larger portion there at 36%, which does fluctuate from year to year. Our employee costs make up 21%, and our materials and services and depreciation both at around 19%. So just running through our draft capital works program for next year. So it is a sizable program, currently sitting at around 52 million, and it will be evolving with any further grant funding and following the finalisation of our March quarterly budget review. So some of the key projects scheduled for next year, we've got 3.3 million in industrial land development, which is the Patricia Street development. We will have 7.1 million at the moment in disaster recovery works, and 1.5 million scheduled for Stratheden Road and 692,000 for Broadwater Evans Head Road. We also have our general rural reseals and urban reseals as well for 900,000 and 460,000. Stormwater, we have our additional 500,000 included for next year, which brings the total spend on stormwater to 660,000. The casino sewer treatment plant upgrade, we have proposed some early works for next year, which includes $10 million of borrowing, and that's estimated to be 11.6 million for next year. The the Evans Head sewer treatment plant stage 2 is also scheduled to commence next year with 10 million currently projected, which includes $5 million in borrowings. We also have the casino water treatment plant upgrade, which is $4.8 million next year, and our general plant purchases, which is our plant replacement program of 2.5 million. Our draft budget key assumptions, our rate peg for next year is 3.7%. We've assumed 3.5% for the remainder of the following 3 years. We are proposing a 10% increase to our waste annual domestic and non-domestic charges for next year, and an 8% increase to our sewer and water charges for next year. User charges and fees, which is all our revenue policy fees and charges, increased 3.7% in line with the December CPI. Our interest and investment revenue, we're expecting still yields around 4 to 5% for next year. However, we are forecasting a lower level of cash. Grants and contributions, our financial assistance grant is yet to be announced. We've assumed a 2.5% increase, which is revenue of around 7.4 million. In our operating expenses, we've currently assumed a 4.1% increase to our salaries and wages. The local government award is still under negotiation and expected to be handed down prior to 1 July. Once that is announced, we will adjust that prior to the June meeting, and it's looking like it could be around 4%. Electricity, materials and contracts and insurance have all gone up 5%. Borrowings across the long-term financial plan, as mentioned, we've got $15 million next year in sewer, with 10 relating to the casino sewer treatment plant and 5 million for Evans Head, followed by a further 10 million projected in 28-29 for the continuation of the treatment plant upgrade at casino. We do have a number of borrowings coming to an end over the next few years, which is pleasing. We've had 2 drop off this year. We'll have another 3 following in next year, and then another 2 in the 2 consecutive years after that. And so the next slide just illustrates the loan principals outstanding. So as you can see, it is dropping off and then increasing again with those proposed borrowings for the sewer fund. The key impacts on this year's budget are depreciation, and that's largely due to new assets and the significant renewals of existing assets, which is increasing our depreciation costs. Also, in line with the Australian accounting standards, we must index our assets every year to hold them at fair value. The effect of this mandated valuation method has resulted in an estimated 5 million in depreciation over the last 5 years, which basically means our operating result would be $5 million better had we not had to index our assets. We're proposing to increase our IT expenses by 21% in line with the current year's expenditure. Our salaries and wages are increasing 5.6%, which is largely comprised of our award increase, along with some additional traineeships, which are funded via training subsidies. We've amended the materials and contracts CPI from the original LTFP of 2.5 up to 5% in line with the current economic climate. Our interest budget we have increased by $246,000 based on historical results, interest rates and the level of cash we're expecting to hold next year. Fleet has been challenging. Ongoing operational increases in materials, fuel, salaries, wages. The price of plant equipment is putting significant strain on our plant fund. The current fuel crisis is adding around $100,000 per month to the cost of running our fleet. With the fuel excise expected to be reinstated from 1 July, we are expecting fuel prices to increase by potentially 26.3% cents per litre. Increases in plant rates will be required to ensure we're able to continue to maintain and replace our existing fleet, which puts added pressure on our operational and capital budgets. The following graphs just illustrate the trajectory of our rates revenue in comparison to some of our larger operating expenses there for salaries and wages and our IT expenses as an example, as well as the fluctuation in our interest revenues. Our waste fund, we've got ongoing operational increases and delays in being able to landfill our residual waste in the new cell at Namoona until the base layer is complete, which means transporting our residual waste to South East Queensland remains necessary. Fuel pricing pressures are expected to cost an additional $300,000 next year, and that's in particular in relation to our curbside waste collection, which is obviously undertaken across a vast area. For water and sewer, we've got ongoing operational increases in materials and contracts, as well as significant capital works programs, which is putting strain on those funds. We've also got the significant borrowings planned for sewer fund over the next few years. And there is a risk also of obtaining external funding for those larger projects. Whoops. Stormwater, the current stormwater levy generates a minimum $200,000 per year. Our inability to increase this legislative charge of $25 is leading to an increasing gap in the cost of providing that service. We are proposing to invest an additional $500,000 into stormwater capital works next year, as I mentioned, but that's being subsidised through general revenues and isn't sustainable beyond year one. A stormwater service review is currently underway, which will inform the pathway forward for council in levying the stormwater charge to ensure we can continue to address the backlog of infrastructure renewals required. Our rating revenue with our 3.7% increase for next year is expected to generate $18 million in rates revenue. And our base rate at this stage is planned to stay the same at $310 for residents and $360 for business and farmland. Our proposed annual charges for next year, as mentioned, we're proposing a 10% increase to our domestic and non-domestic waste charges, an 8% increase to our sewer annual charge. The stormwater levy will remain unchanged at $25, and our water access and usage charges are also planned to go up 8%, as well as the Casino Food Company's fee proposed charge as per the April meeting. In relation to estimated yield based on those percentage increases, the first column there just illustrates what a 5% increase, which was our original long-term financial plan scheduled increase for this year. So that would have generated $1.1 million increase from this current 25-26 year. The proposed 8% increase for water will give us an additional $237,000 and $346,000 for sewer. And the 10% increase for waste will give us an extra $632,000 with the additional $300,000 from the original 5% to fund the fuel, extra fuel costs. As a comparison to some of our neighbouring councils, we still remain third cheapest, if you like, relative to Ballina, which are the cheapest, and Byron, which are the most expensive. In finalisation, we have assumed, as mentioned, 2.5% for our financial assistance grant. So when that's announced, we'll be able to make that change. Our capital works program will be finalised. It's currently at the 52 million, with further adjustments likely following the March quarterly budget review and end of year carryovers, especially if this wet weather persists. Salary increases will be adjusted in line with the final local government state award, and our current cash surplus is at $405,000. Following this evening's meeting, it is proposed that these three documents, the draft operational plan and budget, draft long-term financial plan and draft revenue policy, will be placed on public exhibition for 28 days for community consultation.
Thank you. Has any councillors got any questions on that presentation? Councillor Walker.
Smith, can I ask, please, what is the total amount of new money being raised by those changes to fees and charges?
Mr General Manager.
Ms Martin, are we able to get that slide back up?
It's shown as all individual amounts, but I was
Yeah, no,
wondering
that's what
what
I
is
think.
the total?
If we accumulate them, are we able to get the presentation back up? Beautiful. If we can go to the slide, so there's a rating slide, which will have the total additional yield. Sorry. 22. Page 22. Yep. So 22. No, if you go to there's a rating. So that's back one. Thank you. So it's one. So in rates, it's an additional 625,000. Is that correct? The actual levy this year, and so the actual levy this year is 17.7, and then our draft budget will be 18.3. So the difference between those two is about. No. So I was just going to say, so that's our rates one. So that's six. If someone wants to add this up, that's 625. And then if we go to the next slide. Next slide. And add up 237,841, 346,110, and 315,326. That's, I believe, the answer to Councillor Walker's question, which will be in the vicinity of 1.5? 3? Oh, for all. Oh, sorry, true, yep. So it's actually the... yeah.
Happy for it to be confirmed later, Mr Mayor, but I'm trying to get the number. We're actually charging our ratepayers an additional $3.2 million this year.
Correct.
Thank you.
So it's 3.2 all up. Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
So that table has the additional amounts on top of that 5% increase, which is traditionally what we have done each year for many years. So that's what the idea of those, acknowledging that the 8% and the 10% are obviously significantly above that 5%, and so that's why I've identified those additional yield amounts for that scenario as well.
Could that number be confirmed, Mr General Manager? Not tonight.
Yeah, no.
Later.
Well, I think there are numbers that potentially we can include in our
I can do it,
consultation documents.
I'd rather be accurate.
Yep, no, we'll make sure that happens. Thanks.
Any other questions? Councillors, I failed to mention earlier that Director Zeller is away, but he's represented tonight by Mrs Kim Anderson. Welcome, Kim, to the meeting. We're answering questions in that department. Councillors, we're on page 14, and the draft operational plan 26-27, including draft financial estimates 26-30, draft revenue policy 26-27, and draft long-term financial plan 2036, and I'll move that motion. I'll get a seconder, please.
Second.
Councillor Morrissey. Councillors, all everyone would be aware of is just at present, financially, not only Australia, not only Richmond Valley, not only the state, not only Australia, but the world's in a bit of a financial mess. And I believe the staff have had a very hard task to work out a draft budget going forward, especially when we see that with uncertainty around fuel prices. The council are in a position where once we adopt our budget in the last week of June, that is locked in. But we're still going to have costs coming at council for fuel, if they do increase, which could be a potential $1 million, $1.2 million, and other services, and just for freight to bring those materials here, they will all go up. Everything will go up through that, and plastics and whatever oil-based products are used. So once we lock that in, if they go very large rises, we will be looking at cutting services or using reserves to finance those extra costs. So I'd just like to acknowledge the staff on coming up with a draft budget that I think is fiscally responsible. It resolves around our strategic plan that we adopted a year ago, and it wouldn't have been an easy task. So thank you. Would you pass that on to staff, please? I know it's only a draft, and it may need to have changes after it goes out to public exhibition. But I agree with the works program. What we will be trying to achieve for our community, and I know it comes at a cost, but that's the only way we can supply our services when you see other costs being put back on council. Thank you. Councillor Morrissey, seconder.
Through you, Mr Mayor, following on from what you just said, I'd just like to thank Ms Martin for her presentation. It was easy to follow.
Thank you. Any other speakers? If not, I'll just say it's time to be fiscally responsible again, and I look forward to this document going out to public exhibition and getting the feedback from our community. That closes the debate. I'll put that vote. All those in favour? Carried. I believe Councillor Hayes, you have the next item called 13.1 on page...
Yeah, look, I've just got a question, so do
Page
you want me
20.
to ask the question before I...
Oh, you're not allowed to ask the question, but
I've got to find it now. Page 21. On the bottom of page 21, it talks about the revised framework provides opportunity to facilitate the development of a new signature event within the mid-Richmond area. And it goes on a little bit further down to say that the destination management plan process with members of the business community in Evans Head to identify potential signature event opportunities. I think that should include Corrockeye, Woodburn and Broadwater as well, as it is a mid-Richmond event, possibly. So I think, just going to the Evans Head business community probably needs to be a bit broader.
that can be taken into consideration.
Yep.
That'll be done.
Okay, and look, other than that, I'll just move the recommendation as written.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Murray. Do you want to speak to it?
No.
Councillor Murray, seconder.
Yeah, just interested to know which groups were were consulted, and is this going to be linked back to the destination management plan? Very supportive of the principle of the report, though.
Mr. General Manager.
So yeah, absolutely. Part of the Destination Management Plan is part of their brief to identify opportunities for a new signature event across the Mid-Richmond. So we had consultation which was held in Evans Head, which I attended along with some others from our team, but was facilitated by the consultants Destination Store, who are doing that plan for us. So they will, or they are currently finalising a draft plan, which we will then be going out for further consultation with, so we can take this feedback into account and make sure that we have conversations with people in Corrokai, Woodburn and Broadwater. But it was generally those that attended were tourism-related businesses. They were, as an example, the promoter of the Evans Head Fishing Classic was there. There was, I think it was As It Stays. So representatives of accommodation premises, some licensed premises, and tourism operators, as well as there was a representative there from the Living Museum. So we will have further consultation and get more feedback. And there's generally people want another event, and it's about how we can establish an event that we support that is community driven as well. So we'll continue to work with that community, across the Mid-Richmond, or our communities across the Mid-Richmond.
Thank you.
Any other speakers? Councillor Hayes, right, a reply?
Yeah, just like to say, it's good to see that we're moving towards a signature event in the Lower River area, and if it can get back to the days where it was, it's something as good as what the Reef and Beef Festival was, it'd be great for the Lower River area. So yeah, that's positive. Thank you.
That closed the debate. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Unanimous, carried. Mr. General Manager, I believe we move on to 16.1 now. Could
Yes.
pass over to you for the presentation, please.
So as we do each quarter, we are required to prepare a quarterly budget review statement, and I will hand over to our Manager of Finance, Ms Martin, to give you an overview of that statement, which obviously tracks our financial progress throughout the financial year, this being the third quarter. So I'll just ask Ms Martin to step through that. And there's also obviously the formal statement as part of the attachments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor, our quarterly budget review statement for the quarter ended 31 March 2026. So the proposed recommended changes for this quarter is a decrease in total operating income of 2.3 million, which is largely comprised of 2.2 million in capital grants and contributions, which brings our projected year-end income to 136 million. We're proposing a recommended change of $1.5 million decrease to our operating expenses, which brings our total operating expenses to 71.5 million, which is a net impact to our operating result of 791,000. The major changes in income are largely a decrease of 2.3 million in relation to forecast grant funding for the construction of the Evans Head Sewer Treatment Plant, which is proposed to be moved into the 26-27 financial year in line with the current program of works. As at 31 March, our actual revenue is tracking at 71%, which of the projected year-end result, which is on track. A decrease for expenses, a decrease in materials and services of 1.5 million, which is largely due to the internally funded works for the Patricia Street Industrial Development, which is expected to continue into 26-27. We are continuing to monitor the ongoing impacts of the current fuel crisis and economic instability. Councils are challenged with finding ways to absorb the increased costs, with fees and charges being adopted at the beginning of the financial year. So unlike contractors, councils don't have the ability to adjust pricing to reflect the current environment. With the cost of fuel currently costing council an estimated additional $3,000 per day, we're taking steps to identify operational efficiencies for the remainder of this financial year, with some of the increased costs impacting our capital projects. As at 31 March, our actual expenditure is tracking at 72% of the projected year-end result, indicating consistent delivery against our operational budgets. For our capital works, we're proposing a decrease of $8 million in capital funding and capital expenditure respectively, which brings our total capital works program back to $71 million. The current expenditure is at 52% of the projected year-end result. There are some significant projects underway, including the betterment of the NRLX effluent management system, the Casino Suspension Bridge, Woodburn Evans Head Shared Pathway and Ratville Sewer. The major changes to capital works is a proposed transfer of $5 million to next year for stage 2 of the Evans Head STP in line with the current program of works. We've also undertaken a comprehensive review of our water supplies capital program, which has seen a reduction of $2 million, with a number of projects also expected to now commence next year, including $1 million for the Centre Street water main replacement. And the current program will be continually monitored, and any impacts will be adjusted and recorded in future budget adjustment reports where required. Further details can be found on pages 13 to 17 of the quarterly budget review statement, which is an attachment to your business paper. So in conclusion, the major changes during this quarterly review are largely due to revisions in the estimated program schedules for large capital projects. Overall, the income and expenditure budgets, as mentioned, are tracking well at 71% and 72% of the budget year to date. Our estimated cash result remains unchanged at $301,000, and our financial position at year end remains on track with the projected budget position.
Thank you. Any questions on the quarterly review? Councillor Walker.
Oh, just two simple ones, Mr Mayor, just clarifications if I could. I just want to pick up on that 52% figure that's in here. After 9 months, we've delivered 52% of the program, and yet you're indicating very confidently that you'll pretty much expend the other 48% in the 3 months. Is that how you really feel, or are we likely to be short?
Mr General Manager.
What, Director Gator or Ms Martin? Or does Anderson respond?
It is, I guess, difficult to estimate. Contract payments come through as we progress. The wet weather's probably going to delay some of the works, but we've been advised that that's where we're heading. So we have got some grant funded projects that remain in our budget that we are awaiting extension approvals on. We can't remove those until we get those extension approvals. So that is probably the only contentious part.
Not sure whose advice it was, but I thank you for the reply. The other question, Mr Mayor, relates to the chart on page 31, or the table on page 31. And I wonder if the Director or the General Manager can explain how, with $97 million of expenditure, and we move all those numbers around, the one number that doesn't move is the $301,339 precisely on the bottom line. So how do you move all these projects, all those changes, and have exactly the same bottom line? And I note that when we listen to state and federal governments, every time they do an updated budget, that number surplus changes. How do you actually calculate to be exactly the same? Just an interesting process.
Mr General Manager.
I'll let Director Gator.
Through you, Mr Ware. So the majority of the changes in this quarter have actually come from either grant funding being moved or reserve funding being moved. So it actually hasn't touched the actual 300,000 because it hasn't actually. We haven't had an operation expense overrun like we did with the IT, but we actually had other savings that we covered that with. So that didn't touch the surplus either. But that's normally the things that would touch that surplus.
Effectively, Mr Mayor, we spend everything we've got and we don't save any more if we get some changes. Is that the right assumption?
I guess, yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? I'll move that motion then. I called it. Seconder, please.
Second, Mr.
Councillor Morrissey. Councillors, I really call that because for the presentation. I just want to thank for the report and the presentation. Thank you very much. Any seconder speak?
Not now.
Any other speakers? Don't need a right or reply. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried. We now move to page 37, item 17. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Morrissey. Seconder?
Yes.
Councillor Cornish. Councillor Morrissey.
No, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Cornish. No. I believe, Councillor Murray, you had a question in item 17 you were asked earlier.
Yeah, I've just had a question come through from the community about the effluent in Salty Lakes. So my question is, apparently under an EPA licence, we need to be reporting some lab testing every fortnight.
What item are you on?
At 17.2, I had my notes here, but maybe I have... Yeah, the Evans Head Sewer Treatment Plant Stage 2. It's in relation to that item. So can I ask the question in relation to that?
Page 45. Thank you.
So the question is the testing in Salty Lakes being completed every 14 days, as I understand the licence requirement being, and are we publishing that data on our website? And if so, when was the last date that data was published?
Mr General Manager, would you like to comment, please?
Thanks for the question. As far as the requirements around our environmental protection licence, which we have to have for every one of these facilities, we are complying with every requirement of that. I believe those requirements have changed. There was a period where monitoring did have to occur, and I'm this is delving back into my memory bank a bit, but there was a change in the requirements, so I will take that on notice to confirm it, but my response is at this point is that that requirement has changed to not require the same level of monitoring that was required from the point at which this facility was built for the benefit of Evans Head and everyone around it. And I think a lot of people around here know that there was a lot of work went into deciding where best it go, and that was where it went. And we can't move the facility now. And what we're actually doing with this project is that we are going to improve the effluent outcomes from that facility. It will improve the technology. It'll improve the capacity within the facility for the aeration and treatment. We do have some challenges in our sort of peak season periods, and so this is a really good project for the Evans Head community. We've done well to secure the 50-50 funding, a contribution from the state government, so that we can get on with the job and get this facility upgraded for the future generations who are going to live in Evans Head for many decades.
Yeah, I agree with the sentiment of your response, thank you. And my follow-up question is, have we explored other options, and maybe it's my newness here, but have we explored all the options for alternative distribution of that water? For example, watering local sporting fields, parks, golf courses, etc. And maybe it's just my lack of history not knowing whether we've explored those, and if we have, I'd be interested to know what the outcome of those discussions were previously.
I believe a lot of that work was done when the original plant was built. A real lot of studies, even down to wet weather releases, leading into tidal release. There was also looking into pumping it into spear pump subterranean under the ground into reserves there. But they were all overruled by the National Parks and Wildlife. But there has been a real lot of work that I think Mr. General Manager will be available when you go looking.
Yeah, look, there definitely was. Look, I wasn't here through that phase, but I'm aware that there's a lot of work done, and I think in some cases some early works on some irrigation of some fields was done, but for reasons which I can probably only guess was probably that the council at the time couldn't afford to finish the connection. I'm only guessing, but that's one of the real issues is, and this is an issue that we're dealing with at the moment with both the Casino STP project, is that ideally it'd be good to reuse all of what comes from a sewage treatment plant. At the moment with the Casino one, the majority of that does get reused on the nearby tea tree plantation. So there are periods of time when there is no release to the environment directly into a creek, goes into irrigation. And the same challenge we're going to face with the Evans Head STP is that this project continues to escalate in cost to just get done what we need to get done within the plant. Ideally, it'd be good to connect it to Stampone Oval and other reserves and have that irrigation available, but it just adds more and more costs to the project. Where we're grappling with the cost of this project now. We're getting 50-50 funding, but every time it escalates from whether it be a 5 million or a 10 million or a 17 million, we still have to pay half of it. So our proportion continues to significantly increase. So it potentially is a question that may get asked in the Section 60 application process that we are about to go through with the government agencies. And that'll be the conversation is, ideally, yes. Can we afford it? At the moment, no.
I might just jump in with a bit of my knowledge of what went on down there years ago with the watering of the fields, Stampone, School Oval. There was infrastructure put in the School Oval. There was infrastructure put in Stampone. There was infrastructure put in by the golf club to make use of that water. And it all come down to not being able to take it through the national park to get to the golf club. I know that's what held that up. So there was proponents there across that memorial bloody aerodrome that wouldn't let them go across. There was a heap of things, and then all of a sudden they lifted the standard of the water, so it couldn't be used on the sporting fields, and that was never addressed. So it just got left. And then when that plant was upgraded, I can recall there was media stuff about it going out in the ocean, and I think then it resulted in it going into into those reed beds that actually do make their way across to Salty Lagoon, and that's where we sit now. I would assume that any upgrade would improve the environmental effect of any water that is released from that facility. And moving forward, we need the sewage upgrade. It's pretty simple.
I also believe, Councillor Hayes, at one stage there was a study done. If that water doesn't go where it's going now, it will change the whole ecosystem of what it was. Because
I think
originally it was salt water, now it's mainly fresh water, and there was looked at the effects it would have on the current ecosystem.
If you go back and do some research, there's going to be a lot of information from, 2003 through to where it's at now, I think, something like that.
I think technology may have changed in that time, though, and perhaps getting back to questions, because I believe we're only allowed to ask questions, aren't we, in this section? Is there an opportunity to revisit, and are we revisiting newer technologies available to us to reduce the environmental impact? And can some of these options be revisited, like the reusing of the water? I guess you've probably answered that in saying it comes down to budgets and it may be a too costly exercise. So maybe you've already answered that question.
Just on the technology front, the detailed design process will improve the technology, and as part of the project we are also upgrading which you have to when you're putting in the new technology, you upgrade the SCADA system, so your technology platform that operates the plant. I mean, the Evans Head plant is a really good plant. If you go to it and then you go to Casino, the difference is stark. Casino's almost a manual plant, whereas at Evans Head you can go into a control room and it's mostly automated, but it will be upgraded as part of this project, and that's a significant component of the new design. So I would assume, as given that that project's actually been designed by Public Works Advisory, so the New South Wales Government's advisory folk have done that project for us and delivered a good project within the time frames that we needed. So yeah, assuming that they would be tapping into the latest technology.
Thank you.
I've got some questions.
Any other questions?
Yep, 17.2. The NRLX effluent management system, how long do we stay involved in that, upgrading those ponds into the future with the lease that's in place now? Do we have to keep maintaining those ponds and working on them over the next whatever years at a cost to council?
Mr. General Manager.
Look, once the ponds are, they'll be desludged and upgraded, and the bank's raised. There's also an effluent management system that comes with it, improvements around the truck wash. So they'll be capital improvements that we are funding as the owner of that facility. They will improve the operational requirements and should be for a period of time. The maintenance should reduce. As we undertake this project, Outcross currently sees certainly involved in the discussions, and we're building in any sort of improvements that we're able to within the funding agreement in consultation with them, so that if there's any sort of business improvement that are efficiency-wise, we'll be doing that as well. So, look, once this project's done, we revert back to the current lease arrangement and the requirements that are in that lease around maintaining that asset.
I've got a few questions on a few more of them, if I can keep going, can I?
Yeah.
Yep, okay. So the casino industry activation project, is there dramas with the compulsory acquisition out there? Is it holding the job up at this point in time, and will it into the future? Is it
Mr. General Manager.
We've just reached a point where it's requiring us to adjust how we deliver the internal works component of that project. The wet weather over the last month hasn't helped either. The compulsory acquisition process is underway, but it does take time. So we've got to step through the process of getting ministerial approval for the compulsory acquisition, and then there's periods of legislated days in that process. So we're in that, and we're having conversations at the moment about whether there's an opportunity to work around that. But they're the internal works. Obviously, we're full steam ahead with the roundabout, and obviously the first priority is to make sure we take maximum advantage of the grant funding, and we are getting very close to spending that that funding, the 10 mil, by 30 June. But yeah, look, it's an inconvenience, but we're dealing with it.
Thank you. Now, Woodburn Pony and Tennis Club. It says construction of the engineered earth mound is underway. I drove past there yesterday, nothing underway.
Mr. General Manager.
I'll let our acting director respond to that one.
Through you, Mr Mayor. So the design and everything's been done for that. We've procured. Unfortunately, this weather at this point, we can't actually get excavators and machines on the ground actually physically construct it, but we are ready to go as soon as the weather clears up.
I have a question while you're thinking. I've just got one in relation to
Councillor Murray.
Sorry, I've got one question in relation to Stanpayne Oval, not directly in relation to drainage and lighting upgrades, but that facility. The grandstand was closed on the weekend.
What page and item are you on, please?
Same item, 17.2, page 43, bottom of.
Yeah, we got a customer request in over the weekend that purlins on the roof of the Stanpayne Oval had fallen down. We've subsequently investigated and 8 have fallen down. Not sure what period of time would have, and I suppose with hindsight, would have been good if we got a report a bit sooner. But we're acting quickly. We are getting a report done on the what the impact is and what we need to do to fix it. Disappointing, given that that roof is only about 5 or 6 years old. It was grant funding, and we also understand that a similar scenario is unfolding at Woodburn Oval with the roof on that facility. So we're doing a report on both of those that will identify whether there's structural issues and ultimately what fix needs to be done. Both roofs, from photos I have seen, and obviously in the environments they're in, basically the steel is rusting quite significantly, given they're not that old. So probably raises questions about the product that was used at the time. That's something we'll have a look at. But obviously we are very conscious of the impact and inconvenience that not having a grandstand with cover when you want to watch the footy on a weekend, both rugby league and rugby union, and whatever else gets played at Stanpayne, that facility is important. So we are moving quickly, but we'll need to obviously assess the damage and then what it might cost to fix it, get quotes, and obviously find an appropriate funding source to fix those facilities.
Thank you.
Any others? Councillor Morrissey, Councillor Cornish? No?
Thanks, Mr.
Moved.
Mayor.
Put that motion in. All those in favour? Carried. That was unanimous. We now go over to page 66, item 18.1, questions on notice. There's questions from Councillor Murray that have been answered. Right, we'll move on then to item 19 on page 69. I need a motion to go into closed council.
Move, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Morrissey, and a seconder.
Second.
Councillor Murray. Mr. General Manager, Mr. General, have you received any correspondence?
No, none
We should
received.
not go into closed council. There's no one in the gallery, so I'll now put that. There was someone in the gallery. I couldn't see him for councillor. Yeah, I couldn't see for Councillor Cornish. Thank you for your attendance. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried. Mr General Manager, could you read the resolutions of closed council, please?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'll let our Acting Director Anderson and Director Kao just to read the resolutions for their relevant reports. Thank you.
Through you, Mr Mayor. For the resolution for the biosolids, excuse me, I'll bring it back up
It'll
on this
be in
page.
the...
As recommended per the report. Read the whole lot because it's not in there. Recommendation that council accepts the tender from East Coast Fertilisers Proprietary Limited for the biosolids removal and disposal, as it represents the best value for council at $77 a tonne, excluding GST, and that the General Manager be authorised to negotiate the final terms and conditions of any contract or agreement in line with the content of this report and the available budget, and affixing of the seal of council where necessary.
Thank you.
So 19.2, tender VP 467634, construction of the Woodburn Pony and Tennis Clubhouse. Council resolved to decline all tenders for tender VP 467634, construction of the Woodburn Pony and Tennis Clubhouse, due to all submissions being higher than the budget allocated for the works. Point 2, applies clause 178(3)(e) of the Local Government General Regulation 2021 to authorise the General Manager to enter direct negotiations with suitably qualified contractors with a view to procure works that provide council with the best outcome, both from a financial and delivery perspective, and to finalise terms of the contract or agreement and affixing the seal of council where necessary. Point 3, notes the likely budget shortfall for the project and endorses the General Manager to explore funding opportunities, budget adjustments and potential rescoping of the works to achieve a financially viable outcome, with options to be highlighted as part of future quarterly budget reviews and reported back to council for consideration in the 2026-27 financial year. And point 4 notes that the outcome of the negotiations will be reported back to council for information at a future meeting.
19.3.
19.3, tender report on co-mingled recycling removal. Council resolved that Council accept the tender from Richmond Waste Solo Group, Eljo Proprietary Limited, and the trustee for the Rico Family Trust, which represents the best value for Council at the discounted rate of $405,188, exclusive of GST annually, for the removal of commingled recyclables from the Moona Waste Recycling Facility and Evans Head Transfer Station. The contract be awarded for a 36-month period from 1st of July 26 to 30th of June 29. Provision being allowed for 2 times 36 months extension based on satisfactory supplier performance, which may take this contract through to the 30th of June 35. And that 4, the General Manager be authorised to negotiate and finalise the terms and conditions of any contract or agreement in line with the content of this report and the available budget, and affixing the seal of council where necessary.
19.4.
19.4, tender VP 505575 for the supply of fire service compliance to council building and facilities. Council resolved that to accept the tender for the supply of fire compliance services to council's building and facilities from Douse Fire Protection Proprietary Limited, which represents the best value at $54,458 exclusive GST, and that the General Manager be authorised to negotiate and finalise the terms and conditions of the contract or agreement in line with the content of this report and the available budget, and affixing the seal of council where necessary.
Thank you. Thanks, councillors and staff, for your attendance. That brings our May Ordinary Council meeting to a close. Thank you for everyone out there who was viewing. Everyone have a safe trip home. Thank you.